How's it going? Today I'm going to assemble this toy organizer. This is a storage organizer my wife bought for our son. He's a toddler, so he's got plenty of toys. This thing looks pretty massive. The box is really heavy. I already opened it up a little bit. First thing I like to do is get a big trash bag to put all the styrofoam, all the stuff that protects it, and then kind of go through this manual, separate each piece in stacks of like which type of piece it is, and then start assembling. One thing you're going to need is Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to use a drill. You can do it by hand with a screwdriver. It's just going to be a bit tiring. It's going to take you a little bit of time. The first step is this piece here. It's labeled number 13, number 12. We're just going to attach them together. With these, you want to make sure that the arrow is pointing towards where the screw is going to go in. This first piece is asking for 6 dowels. It's going to be 4 on this piece here. The dowels are going to be in this hole. And then for our big piece, number 13, it's going to be 2 on each side. Okay, so to attach these two pieces, I like to hold this up the same way that the instructions hold. It has this little spot here on the back, these 4 holes. You're going to put the 2 with the dowels that are already there and match, and it actually makes like a little L. So that's what we end up with for our first piece. Alright, for this next part, we have pieces 2 and 3, and we have these pieces here, and we're going to put these in. So these are slightly smaller holes than the dowel holes. It's going to be here and here, and then it's going to be here and over here, so on the 2 ends. And this kind of sits right on the top of the wood. For this next step, we're going to put the piece that we just assembled, and then we're going to connect this piece number 2 right to it. There we go. This is the cam lock that we put in earlier. It's got the arrow facing the cam bolt, and we're just going to turn this to the right, and then it should lock in place. Also on the bottom here, it's got these 2 holes, and that's going to be the longer screws. Those are going to go in to attach the piece that we just connected. With all these holes here that you see, those are going to be for the rods. The rods are part of the storage system. We're going to put them in, and then there's these bolts that screw on the back side of them. Those go on either side of the poles, so we're going to put this one up and then attach the other piece right here. And that piece is going to go on the other end, and it's going to look just the same as this. So with these, we want to make sure that we're not stripped. If you're confident that you didn't strip it, the drill's a lot faster, and it should hold out on its own, so you don't have to worry about it bending or anything until you get the other piece across. They also give us this strip of stickers. The stickers, they're white, and they go right over these bolts so that these kind of blend in. All right, for the back side, it's going to be the exact same thing. So one way to know, well, it's got the curve here that matches the other side, and it's the one that we had already put these cam bolts into. Now lining this up in the corner, we're going to lift this up just ever so slightly so that it's off the ground. It's a little tricky because we now have these poles in the way. So this pole looks like it needs to sit right in this hole before we go on any further. All right, now that that's in place, I want to make sure not to forget the 2 screws that go on the back side towards the bottom. And we also need to screw in all of these rods from the back side with those bolts. Then again, we're just going to finger tighten this to start, and then we're going to put the drill on it. Alright, so this next part gets a little more complicated. They're asking for this piece here. It's actually a magnetic like door catch. There's going to be a door on this top side. Alright, so for this top half, we're going to use the dowels and the cam bolts. Okay, so this definitely was the most confusing part so far. What we need to do before we start this is we need to get number 6 and number 5 assembled. And that's going to connect to establish our corner piece. So now we have to make sure to lock these cam bolts before we move on. They put these little stickers here with the numbers on the ends. And for this one, we're going to match up the groove. Whenever I assembled the magnet piece, I used the screws that came in the bag that had the magnets. That's actually not the screws that you use. So there's another bag, bag N. These ones are slightly longer and they go with the magnet pieces, but they are not in the bag for the magnet pieces. All right, so for this next spot, we're gonna put this together. The knob is actually gonna be on the side, the 1 hole. So that's where the knob's gonna go. And you're gonna put the screw in, and this screw is gonna be screw F. And we're just gonna kind of do this. It's kind of a wooden knob, so it's a wood screw on the wooden knob. You just wanna make sure you get it pretty straight. This little metal piece is pretty much just your magnetic plate. For something this small, I definitely use a screwdriver. So they give us these little machined pieces. They look like this, and that's like its little hinge kind of. And it's gonna have to flex out just a little bit, so you can see here, kind of get this one in and then slightly bend out the other side. And once this piece is on to secure the top part, this is not gonna move. Okay, for this next step, they got the little thin panels. Those are gonna slide down right in line with the grooves that are cut out already. So we're gonna grab piece number 1. It looks just like this. It's got the curve on the one side and it's got our groove on the other side. We're gonna put all the cam bolts in the spot that fit the cam bolts, and this is gonna cap on top of our shelf right here. Now that it's locked in place, you wanna grab your screwdriver and start locking down your cam bolts. And don't forget to open up this door and do these bolts as well. And remember, we're just doing the top ones because the bottom ones are already attached. All right, so it's calling for us to flip this over. Now that we flip this over, we're pretty much gonna duplicate what we just did. Okay, so now that we have it on the end with the 2 drawers facing us, or at least exposed here, we're gonna put these little feet. All right, now that we have it assembled, it wants us to put our buckets in place, and then you just kind of tilt them in place. Pretty easy right here. Okay, so we have some additional white stickers left over, but what it wants us to do is cover up these back ones. And then the other task that we have, all these corner pieces, it has these little plastic triangles, and what you do is you kind of screw them in to the backs here, and that's actually, it's not directly, and it's into the corners, and what it does is it tightens all this up so that it stays much more secure. So for each one of these, you have your triangle here, and what you're gonna do is, it has one hole, and for all of the spots that are going upwards, you're going to put it in the corner and shove it upwards. And then for the bottom of the squares, you're going to put them outwards. So you're not going to go downwards, you're going to go outwards. So it's up, up, and then out and out. Once you have it in place, I would recommend using a drill on this one, but you could use a screwdriver as well. Here's our little triangle piece. So like I said, it's got the hole here, and it's got this little flange, little flap, and you're gonna go upwards. You could use the screwdriver. It might be better. I'm gonna try the drill. And it should screw right in. So we're gonna do that on all 6 of the slots, the little cubby holes. So we're gonna go up, up, and then to the sides on the ones towards the bottom.